So they have had a series of successful battles here. They fought some of the people who attacked them aggressively without cause, without needing to. They defeated them, and now they're taking vengeance on themselves, on the Midianites, and completely defeated them. And now they have actually some territory. In the process of doing that, they have already enjoyed some of the fruits of victory. They not only have all these spoils that they won in the previous chapter, but they also have land that they've captured from the enemies who attacked them aggressively earlier on. And this is going to kind of present an issue for them. So let's read about this here. The Reubenites and the Gadites, who had very large, so the descendants of Reuben and Gad, who had very large herds and flocks, saw that the lands of Jazer and Gilead were suitable for livestock. Those are the lands that they've already conquered in the wars they've already fought. They haven't even entered the promised land yet. Okay, they had not actually gone into the section of land that God has allotted to them. This territory where they're still hanging out on the other side of the Jordan River is not theirs. But they currently control it because they defeated the people who were living there. So they came to Moses and Eleazar the priest, and to the leaders of the community, and said, Atoth, Dibon, Jazer, Nimrah, Heshbon, Eliah, Sebam, Nebo, and Baon, the land the Lord subdued before the people of Israel, are suitable for livestock, and your servants have livestock. If we have found favor in your eyes, they said, let this land be given to your servants as our possession. Do not make us cross the Jordan. They probably would have been okay. They do end up getting this land. They do end up receiving this land that they asked for. They probably would have been okay if they had left out that last line there. Do not make us cross the Jordan. Because by saying that, they reveal what they really want. They really don't want to go in there and fight those other guys. Same thing they had a problem with 40 years earlier. They really don't want to go into those fortified cities and try to take those down. They defended themselves against aggression because this king of the Amorites and the king of Bashan, Sihon and Og, came out and attacked them. And then they avenged themselves on the Midianites. But they really don't want to actually have to go in there and drive these people out of their land. So they threw in that last little sentence there. And by doing so, I think, kind of revealed what they are really thinking here. Okay, excuse me for a second. Ouch. I'm having a problem with changing position in this chair sometimes because I don't want to make this armrest any looser than it already is. Because every little jostle, every little time I jostle against it, it gets looser and looser, and eventually it's just going to fall right off. And probably break the chair into pieces in the process. So that's what Moses is going to get mad at them for here. They will actually get this land. They will be granted their request, but not without some rebuke for showing their real colors here. Moses said to the Gadites and Reubenites, shall your countrymen go to war while you sit here? Why do you discourage the Israelites from going over into the land the Lord has given them? This is what your fathers did when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to look over the land. After they went up to the valley of Eshcol and viewed the land, they discouraged the Israelites from entering the land the Lord had given them. The Lord's anger was aroused that day, and he swore this oath, because they have not followed me wholeheartedly, not one of the men 20 years old or more who came up out of Egypt will see the land I promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Not one except Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and Joshua, son of Nun, for they followed the Lord wholeheartedly. The Lord's anger burned against Israel, and he made them wander in the desert for 40 years, until the whole generation of those who had done evil in his sight were gone, or was gone. And here you are, a brood of sinners, standing in the place of your fathers, and making the Lord even angrier with Israel. If you turn away from following him, he will again leave all this people in the desert, and you will be the cause of their destruction. Sometimes you just got to point things out the way they need to be pointed out. If someone is behaving badly and causing trouble in the community, if someone's the source of the problem, sometimes you just got to point that out and say, that guy is the reason why we're having all this trouble. Sometimes it may, sometimes it just comes to that. Sometimes that's just what you have to do. Then they came up to him and said, "We would like to build pens here for our livestock, and cities for our women and children. But we are ready to arm ourselves and go ahead of the Israelites until we have brought them to their place." So they've had a change in heart. They took Moses' rebuke seriously. They didn't argue with him. They didn't fight him. They didn't try to get themselves out of it. They took it seriously. So not only are they going to go with them, they're actually going to go ahead of them. They're actually going to go lead the rest of the Israelites to their land. "Meanwhile, our women and children will live in fortified cities for protection from the inhabitants of the land." And they need protection. We saw what we did, what the Israelites themselves did with the women and children of the people living here already. So yeah, women and children need protection in this world, in this region of the world at this time. "We will not return to our homes until every Israelite has received his inheritance. We will not receive any inheritance with them on the other side of the Jordan, because our inheritance has come to us on the east side of the Jordan." Then Moses said to them, "If you will do this, if you will arm yourselves before the Lord for battle, and if all of you will go armed over the Jordan before the Lord until he has driven out his enemies from before him, then, when the land is subdued before the Lord, you may return and be free from your obligation to the Lord and to Israel. And this land will be your possession before the Lord. But if you fail to do this, you will be sinning against the Lord, and you may be sure that your sin will be found out. Build cities for your women and your children, and pens for your flocks. But do what you have promised." So keep to your word. You said you were going to do it. I told you to do it. You said you were going to do it. Do it. If you do it, you can have your land. You can put your cities up. You can let this will be yours. But keep your vow to go into the land. Keep your promise to go into the land with your brothers and get their land for them too. The Gadites and the Reubenites said to Moses, "We, your servants, will do as our Lord commands. Our children and our wives, our flocks and our herds will remain here in the cities of Gilead. But your servants, every man armed for battle, will cross over to fight before the Lord, just as our Lord says." Then Moses gave orders about them to Eleazar the priest and Joshua son of Nun, and to the family heads of the Israelite tribes. He said to them, "If the Gadites and Reubenites, every man armed for battle, cross over the Jordan with you before the Lord, then when the land is subdued before you, give them the land of Gilead as their possession. But if they do not cross over with you armed, they must accept their possession with you in Canaan." The Gadites and Reubenites answered, "Your servants will do what the Lord has said. We will cross over before the Lord into Canaan armed, but the property we inherit will be on this side of the Jordan." Then Moses gave to the Gadites, the Reubenites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, son of Joseph, the kingdom of Sihon. I don't know if they were part of this. I mean, they aren't mentioned as it. Up until now, it's been strictly the Reubenites and the Gadites. I'm not sure why all of a sudden there's a distinction now between half the tribe of Manasseh too. I really don't know. So he gave them the kingdom of Sihon, king of the Amorites, and the kingdom of Og, king of Bashan, the whole land with its cities and the territory around them. The Gadites built up Dibron, Ataroth, Aroer, Atroth, Sophon, Jazer, Jogbehah, Beth Nimrah, and Beth Haran as fortified cities, and built pens for their flocks. And the Reubenites rebuilt Heshbon, Elealeh, and Kirithaim, as well as Nebo and Baal Meon. These names were changed. And Sibmah. They gave names to the cities they rebuilt. The descendants of Machir, son of Manasseh, went to Gilead, captured it, and drove out the Amorites who were there. So I guess that's why they're called out separately. They had their own little foray. So Moses gave Gilead to the Machirites, the descendants of Manasseh, and they settled there. Jair, a descendant of Manasseh, captured their settlements and called them Havoth Jair. Havoth Jair means the settlements of Jair. And Nobah captured Kenath and its surrounding settlements and called it Nobah after himself. So part of Israel already has its land, but they're not really going to get to settle there and enjoy it until the rest of Israel has its land. I don't really know exactly what they mean by leaving their wives and children behind. Obviously, they're not going to cross the river with them and go into battle with them. You would think they'd have to leave at least a few men behind, ready to defend them in case it's necessary. I don't know. I mean, I really. It seems like they weren't allowed to do that. It seems like they were committing themselves to go out in front of the rest of the Israelites to fight the wars on the other side of the Jordan. But you would also think it'd be a bad idea to leave those cities totally undefended, except for the walls. And well, you can always get around a wall, you know. So I don't know. I mean, I really don't. I don't know exactly how that worked. I'm assuming they must have left a small number of people there, armed men ready for battle to defend those cities. But at any rate, 2.5 of the 12 tribes already have their land. They haven't really divided up yet, but they're going to have to go with the other 9.5 tribes and Levi into the promised land. So this is not the promised land. This is actually an addition, like an addendum, like an add-on. This is actually not part of the territory that God intended for Israel to have. But it is going to be given to them as long as they fulfill their commitment to go with the rest into the tribe. And they will. They will do that, actually.